Hello students, I welcome you all to this virtual learning online platform. Presently, we are dealing with an interesting element of English grammar titled as form and meaning. In the previous video, that is form and meaning part 1, you might have understood the concept of form and meaning, especially in English language, and you might have studied with the help of a few examples how to actually analyze the form of a sentence and later the meaning of each of the sentences provided. Now, in this video, I would like to deal with a few more examples of form and meaning. So let us proceed with a few more examples of form and meaning. So friends, you are watching form and meaning part 2. Now look at this pair of sentences. The woman grins at men. And another sentence from this pair is the woman grinned at men. Now look at the form of each of the sentences. The first sentence is in the simple present tense. You can easily make out the woman is the noun phrase functioning as subject, and you have GRIN, which is the base form, and here we have used yes form of the verb GRIN, green. Since your subject, that is the woman, is in the third person singular number, and since the sentence is in present tense, we need the yes form of the verb. So the sentence goes like this: the woman grins at men, and this sentence is in the simple present tense. Whereas you have the another sentence here, the woman grinned at men. See, this sentence is in the simple past tense. You can make a difference between both the sentences. First one is provided with S form. That's why that is in simple present tense. Whereas the second sentence has GRINNED, grinned. So of course, this is the V2 of the base form GRIN, grinned. So you have the pair here. The first sentence is in simple present tense, whereas the second sentence is in simple past tense. Now look at the meaning. The moment you change the form of the verb, that is one is in present and second one is in past, of course, that will affect the meaning as well. So the first sentence means that the woman has a habit of grinning at men. Right? The meaning is quite clear here, quite succinct here. The woman has a habit. The people have different kinds of habits. So this woman has a habit of grinning at men. Actually, to grin means to have a broad smile, right? And the woman has that kind of habit, probably. Whereas you have the second sentence, the woman grinned at men. The second sentence means that the action of greening at men already completed in the past. And it is not sure whether the woman was habitual to do so or not. But one point of time in the past, she greened at men. So this is the essential difference between the sentence 1 and 2 as provided here on your screen. Another pair of sentences here. She cooked my wife the food. Second one is, she cooked my wife. See, these two sentences are really very humorous. The first sentence is in the simple past tense because you have cooked, cooked. To cook is the infinitive form, cooked is the V2. So that's why this particular sentence is in the simple past tense. Similarly, you have the second sentence here that is also in the simple past tense because the verb remains the same in both the sentences. So the first sentence goes like this: she cooked my wife the food. Second sentence, she cooked my wife. Now you look at the meanings over here. The first sentence provides you the meaning that she cooked some particular kind of food for my wife. When you say she cooked my wife the food, it means there is one lady, don't know who is that, but since the sentence says she, so she cooked one particular or some particular kind of food for my wife. Whereas the second sentence is very ambiguous. The second sentence means that she, don't know who is that, but someone, she wasted the time of my wife and broke her head. So in fact, you cannot say that she cooked my wife means my wife is not an edible item to be cooked, right? So don't take that way. Here you can say that she wasted the time of my wife and broke her head. Broke her head means she broke the head of my wife. So this way you can have the meanings over here. Then you have one more pair on your screen. The water is cold, and the another sentence is the water has been cold. Right? Both the sentences are in present tense, but the first sentence is in the simple present tense, whereas the second sentence is in the present perfect tense. Right? Now you look at the meanings over here. Because since there is a slight change in the form of the sentences, of course, that will considerably affect the meaning of the sentences. Look at the first meaning now. The first sentence means that the water is cold right now in the present time. Okay, that's why you can simply say the water is cold. So at the present time, it means right now, in the present moment, the water is cold. The water is cool. Whereas the second sentence gives you a different meaning. The second sentence means that the water has been cold up till now in the recent past, but it is not sure whether the same water is cold at this particular moment or not. It has been cold, but whether it is cold now or not, that cannot be said. So this way you can have different meanings from both the sentences. Let us look at this sentence on your screen. We are now on the hunger strike We had a hunger strike. Look at the first sentence. The first sentence is in the simple present tense, whereas the second sentence is in the simple past tense. Please don't get confused with the verb like are or had. Many people will simply say the first one is in continuous tense, present continuous, and second one is in simple past. Or else some of you may say it is in the past perfect, but that is not the case. So the first sentence, you can define it in your own ways. We is the first person plural number functioning as subject. Are is the main verb of the sentence. Now indicates adverbial of time. On the hunger strike, right? So the first sentence tells you that the hunger strike is going on because the people are sitting over there and they are on the hunger strike. They may have some legible demands of their own. Whereas the second sentence is in the simple past tense, you know that have has two forms. One is have is the present form and had is the past form of have. So that way it is used here. So you can simply say, we had a hunger strike. So this sentence is in the simple past tense. Now you look at the meanings here. The first sentence means that the hunger strike is going on in the present moment of time. And that's why it is expressed like this. We are on the hunger strike. Whereas the second sentence means that the action of doing hunger strike is already completed in the past time. And that's why this sentence is expressed in the simple past. We had a hunger strike. So this is how you can derive different meanings from these two sentences. Now you look at one more pair on your screen. You must come to the meeting. You should come to the meeting. In these two sentences, modal auxiliaries have been used. The first sentence indicates obligation and necessity by the modal auxiliary must, whereas the second sentence indicates the expectation and the advice offered to the subject by the modal auxiliary should. Now you look at the meanings of these two sentences. The first sentence means that it is an obligation and the necessity that the subject you must come to the meeting. Okay. Maybe he is serving the company or the organization, either in some capacity in the hierarchy, or else he may be the employee over there. So you can simply say, you must come to the meeting. So it is your, it is the obligation to you. It is the necessity of time that you must come to the meeting. You cannot avoid that. You cannot skip it. The second sentence says, you should come to the meeting. This sentence indicates the expectation. This sentence offers you an advice that, see, it is the sense of responsibility of an individual to attend the formal proceedings like meeting. So you should come to the meeting. You cannot simply avoid it. You cannot simply skip it. So this way, these two sentences can be analyzed. You have one more pair on your screen. He beat the thief. He beats the thief. In both the cases, you have he, the third person singular number, functioning as subject of the sentence. In both the sentences, BEAT is the verb used and the thief is the object of the sentence. But now you see, the first sentence has a different form than the second sentence. When you say he beat the thief, this sentence is in the simple past tense. I hope you know the different forms of the verb beat. Beat is the base form. To beat, beat is the infinitive form. BEAT, beat is the past form, right? Then you have beats, BEATS is the S form. And here, you should not get confused because of the spellings. Beat, beat, beaten, beating, beats, will beat or shall beat. These are the various forms. So here, the first sentence is in simple past tense, whereas the second sentence is in the simple present tense, because he is the subject, third person singular number. And if you are writing or saying something in the simple present, you simply apply S or ES suffix to the main verb in the simple present tense. And that's why you can simply say, he beats the thief. So this sentence is in simple present tense because the main verb has come with S form. And that is possible only in the simple present tense. Now you look at the meanings of the sentences. The first sentence means that the action done by the subject he is completed in the past time. So we are not sure who is that he. Maybe a common ordinary person from the society, or maybe a policeman. But the action of beating the thief is already completed in the past. But now you see the meaning of the second sentence. When you say he beats the thief, it means that the subject he may be in the department of police and he keeps beating thief as a part of his duty. So it's a kind of regular action for him. It's a kind of dutiful habit for him. Then only you can say like this, he beats the thief. Suppose you are an ordinary person of the society, a common man. Do you come across the thief every day and you keep beating the thief every day? No, not essential. But here, if at all somebody is working in the department of police, so probably the police may come across a thief every day. And that's why it is really regular action for them to beat a thief. So you can simply say, he beats the thief. So these are the two meanings that you can derive from these two sentences. Now you look at one more sentence on your screen. He is standing a foot away from me. Second sentence is, he is standing on foot away from me. See here, the sentence 1 and sentence 2 both are in the same form. It means both the sentences are in the present continuous tense. You can easily make out. In both the sentences, third person singular number, he is functioning as the subject. Then you have is is the auxiliary verb. Stand is the main verb. But since is there and stand is provided with ing form, that is progressive form or continuous form. So based on this structure, you can simply say it that the sentence 1 and 2 both are available in the present continuous tense. Now you look at the meaning. The meaning is changed because of the use of a foot and on foot. And there is a big difference in the meaning as such. What kind of difference do you find? Let us look at the first interpretation. The first sentence means that he is standing 1 foot away from me. That 1 foot indicates the distance between he and me. What is the distance between the two? So there is a person called he. He is the third person singular number. we don't know who is that person, but there is a person. Whom do you call according to the sentence? He. He is standing a foot away. A foot means 1 foot away. In the distance point of view, how much is the distance? 1 foot distance between he and me. That is the meaning. Whereas you have another sentence, he is standing on foot away from me. It means that he is standing on his own feet away from me. But in this second sentence, the distance is not specified. He may be standing nearer to me. He may be standing away from me. He may be 1 foot or 2 foot or 3 feet, whatever. It depends. But this is not specified. So this can be the interpretation of these two sentences. So this is how we have studied a few more examples for form and meaning today. Thank you very much.